Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Green Tent Circle. My name is Ann Smith, and it's 2 days until it is going to be Earth Day, a huge celebration of millions around the world. And I could not think of a better speaker than to have my good friend Dolly Dastoor, who comes from a religion that has always been Earth centered and celebrates Mother Earth in a way that isn't just one day, it's every day. So let me tell you a little bit about Dolly. And then we have from her organization, in which she's the president now, who has a few words he's going to share about Dolly. And I just want to say, I am studying and coming to my roots of being a Celtic, the ancient Celtic, and they have a, a name for soul sister that is called Amankara. Dolly, you're my soul sister. You are so loyal to the Green Tent as a trustee to the Parliament of World Religions. You are probably a loyal friend and a soul sister to people all over the world. So she was born 1 year before me, so we're almost the same age. And she was born in Mumbai, India, and she was raised in a traditional Zoroastrian family. And then she moved to Ibadan, Nigeria, where her three children were born and raised, most of them, and they're now living, or she's living in Montreal, Canada. Canada. I love that she, her daughter, and her son all got their PhD degrees at the same year. And what a marvelous celebration that must have been for your family. As the past president of the Federation of Zoroastrian Association of North American, called FEZANA, FEZANA, of 26 associations across North America. And Dolly's going to, her whole story, she wrote this beautiful story about her life that is on our landing page of the Illuminator. So just go to the Illuminator series, you'll see photos of Dolly and you'll read her whole story. But I don't want to take up too much time because I want Dolly to be able to tell us, because I know very little about this ancient religion. And the young gentleman who is now president, can you unmute yourself and we'll put the camera on you. And thank you for coming to support Dolly and all that she has done.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon from New York City. My name is Arzan Samwadia. I'm the president of FEZANA, the Federation of Zoroastrian Associations in North America. And we are a coordinating body that represents 25,000 Zoroastrians in North America. That includes both USA and Canada. And one of the reasons why I'm over here is obviously to support Dolly and to listen to what she has to say, because not only is she a personal friend and a mentor, but she is also the past president of FEZANA, the first woman to hold this position. And she, having followed her track record both at the community and the faith level, and especially what she does professionally, the two words that come to mind is that she continues to shatter glass ceilings and continues to excel where people don't, expect her to. It's interesting that she got involved with the parliament only in 2015, and in the last 9 years, she's done amazing stuff, or just with the Parliament of World Religions. But that comes over nearly 5 decades of being involved in the Zarathustri community, the Zoroastrian community, not only in North America but all over the world. Her impact on what she does is amazing. In Zoroastrianism, we have the three tenets, which I'm sure Dolly will talk about. Good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. And actually, Dolly exemplifies the good deeds the best. It's easy to think and it's easy to talk, but it's very difficult to walk the walk. And if you do it for 5 decades, that's the power that very few people have. So Dolly, continue doing what you're doing. You are inspiring generation after generation of Zoroastrians in the community and everybody else who touches your life. So I'm really honored to be here to be part of this and to celebrate Dolly's talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Dolly, take it away.
Oh, my goodness. What can I say after all this? Thank you very much for all this wonderful introduction. And I'm so touched, I don't even know how I'm going to speak. But as Arzan said, I am a practicing Zoroastrian, an adherent of the world's smallest religion, but the oldest, the first revealed prophetic religion and the state religion of three Iranian empires, which flourished continuously from the 6th century BCE to the 7th century CE, dominating the lands of the shores from the Black Sea to the river Indus, and from the Caspian Sea to the Nile, the once mighty empire of the three great dynasties of the Achaemenians, the Parthians, and the Sasanians. And the founder of the religion was Zarathustra, or as the Greeks called him, Zoroaster. Zoroaster was a religious teacher, founder of a religious vision which he communicated in his Gothic poems. This was the mode of religion communication in the 2nd millennium BCE among the Indo-Aryan people. The teachings of Zarathustra have endured for millennium. They provide a robust set of ideas to the adherents based on affirming the importance of life as it is really lived rather than encouraging self-denial or asceticism as routes to the divine. Amongst the various faiths that are practiced today in the world, Zoroastrian religion of Zoroastrianism is little known and is rarely mentioned. Today, there are estimated 200,000 to 250,000 Zoroastrians worldwide, yet at one time it was a state religion of the mighty Persian empires that stretched from Central Asia for 1,000 years, as I mentioned before. The message of Zarathustra and his teachings are as relevant today as when it was revealed 3,500 years ago. Acknowledged as one of the earliest monotheistic religions revealed around the 1400 BCE in Eastern Persia by Prophet Zarathustra, the religion embraces the worship of one God, Ahura Mazda, the wise Lord. The religion was dominant for over 1,000 years in ancient Persia during the Achaemenian, Parthian, and the Sasanian empires. From 559 BCE to 651 CE, stretching across Central Asia, west towards Rome and Greece, east towards India and north into Russia, and south into Egypt. It was during the ensuing centuries of the Persian rule that Zarathustri doctrines, such as belief in one supreme God, heaven and hell, individual judgment, ultimate triumph of good over evil, the final judgment, the arrival of Messiah, or the final restoration and eternal bliss, entered the Judaic and the Christian theologies. The religious suffered a setback when Alexander of Macedonia conquered Persia in 334 BCE and carried out mass destruction of the capital of Persepolis and destroyed Zarathustri religious texts. One of the famous rulers of the Achaemenian kingdom was Cyrus the Great, and that is his tomb. He was supposed to have given the first charter of human rights when he released the Jews from the Babylonia and allowed them to rebuild their temple again. It was during this Zarathustra's doctrine such as belief in one supreme God, heaven and hell, individual judgment, ultimate triumph of good over evil, and final judgment, the arrival of Messiah, or the final restoration and eternal bliss, entered Judaic and Christian theologies. The religion suffered a setback when Alexander of Macedonia conquered Persia in 334 BCE and carried out mass destruction, the capital of Persepolis, and destroyed Zarathustri religious texts by killing all the people, the priests who had the religion as oral tradition. They had memorized everything. There was no written text at that time. Religion was rejuvenated as the imperial religion of the Sasanian Empire at the time. Followers numbered in millions. The The religion thrived for another 425 years until once again suffered a huge setback and advent of Islam after a crucial battle with the Arabs in 641 CE, and the sovereignty passed into the hands of the Islamic caliphs. During the rule of the Caliphate, Zoroastrians suffered unbelievable atrocities at the hands of their rulers, and there were forced conversions. Shiploads of Zoroastrians, in order to continue practicing the religion, fled Persia and landed on the western shores of India during the 10th century. Here in India, they had total freedom to maintain their religious identity and practice the Zoroastrian faith. In India, they came to be known as Parsis, and I'm a Parsi. Most of the Zoroastrians who stayed behind in India, present-day Iran, converted to Islam, but there were pockets in Iran where some of the Zoroastrians continued to practice their faith in clandestine fashion. During the last 50 years, quite a few Zoroastrians from India, Pakistan, Iran have migrated to UK, USA, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Today, there are estimated 200,000 to 250,000 Zoroastrians in the world, a drop in the bucket, the largest concentrations remaining in India and Iran. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the teachings and the message of Zarathustra. Zoroastrianism is a religion as revealed by our prophet Zarathustra, or as the Greeks called him, Zoroaster. His place of birth was in the ancient land of Aryana Vaija on the steppes of Central Asia, somewhere in the present-day Kazakhstan or Tajikistan, right up in the north. There is a difference of opinion amongst various scholars about the date of Zarathustra's birth. Today, on linguistic evidence and archaeological findings, most of the scholars place Zarathustra's date of birth between 500 and 1400 BCE. Zarathustra preached the existence of one God, Avra Mazda, the Lord of Wisdom, and also preached the concept of Asha, which is very important in our cosmology, the truth underlying all existence. He was a pioneer who showed the path of freedom, the freedom of moral choice. For the first time in human history, mankind was introduced to the concepts of choice and free will, and that man must think for himself before he can believe. He taught mankind the importance of good mind, the Bahumana, and encouraged us to think and reflect with a clear, rational mind in order to dispel ignorance and evil. Freedom of choice is therefore fundamental in the teachings of Zarathustra. He declared freedom to be implicit in human nature. Zarathustra made it perfectly clear that all men and women have freedom to choose between good and evil and bear the consequences of their choice. The individual, therefore, has the responsibility to make an informed decision. All men and women are equal and are equally treated to the enlightenment of knowledge and wisdom. By following the path of Asha, which is righteousness, we can establish equality, fraternity, harmony, and peace in this world. In Zarathustra's mission and teaching, the emphasis he declared was upon man to strive upon perfection and completeness in this world. He did not promote the idea of renunciation, celibacy, and deprivation of any form whatsoever. There is no concept of redemption or intercession, and the original teachings there is no place for mercy or plea. We are creatures of intrinsic free will. We make of ourselves what we choose and arrive at the appropriate consequence, the ultimate consequence thereof. That such a religion and a vision should have proposed in the second millennium is truly amazing. Fundamental tenets of the faith are Humata, Ukta, Havarashta. As always, think good thoughts, speak good deeds, and always carry out good actions of deeds. Zarathustrian theology is developed in terms of Amishasventas, the bounteous immortals, and there are 6 abstract concepts or aspects of Avra Mazda. By definition, anything that is divine is holy and sanctified. Creation is one such act and must be held sacred. Devout Zoroastrians regard nature with the utmost profound reverence. As the prophet was beginning to feel the source of the best existence while in communication with his God, he asked some rhetorical questions, such as, who determined the paths of the sun and the stars? Who but thee so arranged the moon to wax and wane? Who so balanced the earth and heavens to keep them apart? Who created the waters and the plants? And who guides the winds in their uncharted courses? The prayers that we are taught as children clearly emphasize the emphasis of non-violence in the prayer of Jashme Bhagya Mazda, which is a fundamental prayer. This tenet is not just towards the humans, but is also directed to all elements of creation. Humans in Zoroastrian teaching are the pivotal creation of Mazda and carry with them the responsibility to protect and preserve all the elements of nature. For we are a part of all that we encounter, and all that we encounter is a part of us. This is just another way of saying God is in all of us and we are all in God. It is for this reason that the very aspects of Mazda are the guardians of all creations, various creations.
The veneration of the elements of nature, fire, sun, sky, waters, the earth, and promoting a mutually beneficial
existence of all for our Mazda's creations is central of our Zarathustra's teaching, giving the religion added contemporary relevance in our modern ecology conscious times. In fact, today is the day where we have a special reverence for fire and a special ceremony connected with that. Because fire is, the Ada is supposed to be the divinity which looks after fire. And that is on the the 9th day of the 9th month of the year. And that is the day related to the celebration of fire. The religion of Zarathustra holds nature and all of Avra Mazda's creations sacred and entrusts man with the stewardship. It stresses the harmony of both the spiritual and the material aspects of creation, providing a holistic approach to life.
Zarathustra theology and rituals celebrate and nurture all life. Reverence, care, and compassion for the earth and all its creations inculcated through the theology of the Ameshaspentas and the Yazatas. At the basis of all ancient purity Zarathustri laws, many of which can now be viewed as sensible, practical, hygienic rules, is an intense passion for taking care of all God's material creations, ensuring that they are not defiled or polluted. Prayers and rituals are offered not for appeasement, but in the spirit of an all-embracing aspect for nature and man's place therein. Zarathustra was the first to emphasize the need for harmony between man and nature. He had an almost obsessive respect for all of God's creations, the elements, the fire, the sun, the earth, the forest, and the waters. He taught man to protect these elements and conserve precious natural resources. He realized the importance of the environment 3,005 years ago, and today environmental consciousness has become a buzzword. Now, a little about the good and evil in Zoroastrianism. Good and evil are topics that have engaged mankind's attention for thousands of years. All religions have speculated on their origins, on reasons for their existence, and for the consequent rewards and punishment in this life and next. Zarathustra's single contribution to the world of
theology was that man, and man alone, is responsible for the creation of both good and evil. A cosmic monotheistic God has endowed man with free will, with complete freedom to choose either the ethical path of Asha, the righteousness, or to ignore it. Zarathustra believed that the universe was not created perfect, that there was both order and disorder in the physical sphere as well as in the spiritual sphere.
Our scriptures, the Kathas, that is the words of the prophet himself, it tells us that God created man as a helper, as a co-worker in his goal to moving the world towards perfection. Man's role ethically was to promote the good and to combat evil. These are the building blocks in man's ethical rule in life. First, his mind and heart should cultivate ethical thoughts, which are the foundation of ethical speech, and more importantly, ethical deeds
to help others in need. With the commitment of each individual, with this commitment to each individual, next the family, then the community, then the province and the country, and finally the whole world, so that we can instill a happy society.
The religion of Zarathustra is called a reflective religion. It is a fusion of view of the world in a way of life offered to the prospective believer to be adopted upon due reflection and
Worthy of acceptance. A believer is one who freely chooses to accept the view of the world as Zarathustra's vision portrayed it and commits himself or herself to a way of life. The religion is not forced down on anybody's throat. The view of the world, as we understand, is a world that is intrinsically good, a divine creation contaminated by evil, but capable of being perfected by the actions of humans by reason of the capacity of moral choice. Human action can promote good and reject evil, leading to the latter's eventful banishment from this world.
the significance of fire. Zarathustri prayers and rituals are solemnized in the presence
Presence of an eternal flame that is kept burning in a silver urn in the inner sanctum of the fire temple. It is important to note that we Zoroastrians do not worship fire and should not be called worship fires as these people mistakenly do. We consider fire as a visible symbol of the invisible divine light, the divine spark, the internal flame within all of us that has to be kept burning by living a useful, meaningful life through practice of humata, good words, good words, and good deeds. My father, like a little aside, would not drink tea early in the morning on an empty stomach. He would always eat first something. And when we asked him, why are you doing that? Why are you eating something before you drink your tea? He would say, I don't want to quench the fire in my body because the fire has to be kept alive. So I have to feed it with something, some food before I drink my tea and quench it.
The corpus of the Zoroastrian religion is known as the Avesta. The old Avestan scriptures comprise the Gathas, the very utterances of the prophet himself. They are in the form of poetry. In the Gathas, one can find a dialogue between Zarathustra and his creator, Ahura Mazda, the Lord of Wisdom. Zarathustra was a recipient of revelation which became the religion of ancient Iranians. The Gathas, as we have them now, are probably written down as late as the 6th century BCE, when the present Avestan alphabet was invented. The divine outpouring of Zarathustra in the Gathas show the
Depth of his vision, his intellectual quest, his spiritual seeking, and above all, his longing to understand the workings of the world from a specific source who be perceived to be the Lord of wisdom. For the first time in human history, humans are shown a new path, a path leading towards the recognition of the mind and therefore a better understanding of one's self.
A little bit about our festivals and the ceremonies. One of the most commonly performed ceremony of the Zarathustris is the Jashan ceremony. This ceremony is performed to commemorate any important personal or communal event, solemn or joyous, such as a new home, a new temple, or business, a marriage, an anniversary, to honor the departed or any of the many holy days
And seasonal festivals in the Zarathustri calendar.
It is performed by one, two, or more priests who recite prayers appropriate for the occasion. The Jashan ceremony can be performed anywhere, at home, outdoors, at the fire temple, or an assembly hall, where all may witness and participate in the ceremony. Also laid out in the ceremony are items representing all the 7 creations of God, fruits and flowers representing plant life, glass of milk representing animal kingdom, a tumbler of water representing oceans,
Rivers and lakes, metal elements representing the sky and minerals, the fire that is kept burning throughout the ceremony with sandalwood and frankincense, the floor on which the priests sit perform the ceremony represent the earth, and finally human beings represented by the priests. The prayers are offered in the ancient Avesta language, invoking the names of some of our dear departed souls, ancestors, and holy men. There are two officiating priests, one representing the spiritual world and the other representing the material world. These two officiating priests exchange flowers, symbolically linking the physical and the spiritual world. Thus,
A Jashan ceremony, well performed,
it's an effective demonstration lesson of the moral truths embodied in the religion. Thus, we can summarize that we should make our ceremonies meaningful, our life helpful, the existence of our community purposeful. We also celebrate a number of religious festivals annually, most of them tied up with our seasonal calendar. And some of the 6 seasonal festivals are called the Gambars, and they are the mid-spring Gambar celebration, midsummer, the harvest, the autumn, and midwinter, and the pre-spring.
These Gambars are celebrated with a Jashan ceremony
And a communal feast, which is a commonizer with equalizer with all the people, rich and poor, who sit together to eat a very simple meal together, to offer thanks to our wise Lord for the bounties of nature and to stress the importance of ecological stewardship of these creations. We Zarathustris also celebrate Nowruz, the arrival of spring, on the day of the vernal equinox on March 21st. This day heralds the beginning of the new year for Zarathustris throughout the world. Nowruz, meaning a new day, is celebrated not only by the Zarathustris, but also peoples of Iran, Afghanistan, Central Asia countries, the Kurds, and the Armenians. And now UNESCO has recognized Nowruz as the intangible heritage of humanity, and that is celebrated throughout the world. Nowruz is the most significant festival in our tradition. This is a time for the family and friends to come together to thank God, Havra Mazda, for his bounty, and to reflect on our lives. It is a time for thanksgiving and celebration. The cold and dark winter are banished, and the warmth and rejuvenation of spring are ushered in as it is rebirth and renewal at the same time. The celebration of the continuity and tradition, a bridge between the old and the new year, a symbolic victory of light over darkness. According to the religion of Zarathustra, every human being is mortal, and death is destined for all. Death is seen as a transformation and not as a total destruction. This is the passing away of spiritual elements from the physical world, from elements from the physical body. According to our beliefs, after a person passes away, the soul remains in the world for 3 days and nights in the care of the divine being Sarosha, who is also referred to as the commander of the creation and guardian of one's soul during this period of extensive prayers and rituals are performed to ensure a safe passage of the soul from the spiritual realm to provide solace and support to the living. At dawn of the 4th day, the soul starts its upward journey to cross over to the spiritual world through the allegorical Chinvat pool, where the person's soul is judged as to the deeds that they have done throughout their lifestyle. The religion promises that ultimately evil shall be vanquished by good. At that time, all souls, good and evil, will pass through the final judgment and will be raised in a blissful spiritual state. According to our scriptures, heaven and hell are not physical places to which people are sent. They're states of mind which result from the right or wrongful choices. A few Zarathustras interpret the scriptures as supporting the doctrine of reincarnation, meaning the return of the soul to earth in another body. The majority, however, do not believe that, as there is no textual evidence for reincarnation in the Zarathustri doctrine. Zarathustra, in his teaching, fully recognizes the existence of evil force on this earth. There's a constant battle between the forces of good and the forces of evil. This is where the concept of Ahomana, the good mind, comes in. According to Zarathustra's man, which is the greatest creation of from Havra Mazda has been equipped with one of the greatest tools of the good mind, and we have to use our good mind to our benefit of the community and the world at large. We Zoroastrians believe that through the application of this good mind, we could follow the path of Humata, Hukta, Havrashta, and over to time assist Havra Mazda in eradicating all evil from the face of this earth. And when we do so, there will be eternal bliss on this planet, which we call Frashokerati. Let's hope and pray that the date comes sooner rather than later. I would like to read to you a few quotations from some of the scholars of religion all over the world. This one is from Mary Boyce, who's the professor at the University of London, and she's long gone now, but she's written several books and lived in Iran and India to really learn about the religion. She's written, Zoroastrianism is the oldest of the revealed world religions, and it has probably had more influence on mankind directly and indirectly than any other single faith. Its leading doctrines are adopted by Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Then Professor Hiddles, who's a professor of the SOAS, which is the Center for Oriental and Asian and Oriental Studies in London, says, their moral philosophy and daily practices have changed but little over millennium and continents. Foremost is the duty to care for God's creations, humanity, the physical and animal worlds. The truth and honesty, industry, and learning traditionally respected by Zoroastrians are the very qualities which contributed to the Zarathustri wealth and influence in the last 2 centuries. They are also characteristic of the diaspora communities. And lastly, one of the high priests of Zoroastrianism in Karachi, Pakistan, says, this noble faith has weathered the heaviest of storms and survived them through all the persecutions, and a religion which stood these trials in the past will stand any trial in the future. Hope you have had some insight into my religion, and I'm open to questions if anybody wants to ask any questions.
Well, first of all, thank you, Dolly. I really knew so little, and you have given us, for me, a wealth of information based back way, way when. And it's too bad that the tenets of God is in all creation, and creation is in God, and in is me, and in is God, and that caring for creation. If it became the dominant religion, imagine the difference.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for educating me.
Yes, and I did not mention that in our religion, we are
Not, there's no asceticism, there's no denial of, you don't have to live in poverty, you have to make your wealth, but you have to, as your wanton duty to give back to the community, give back things. That is why in India, you would see that the biggest hospitals, the industries, the schools and the universities which were sponsored are by Zoroastrians, whereas other religions will say will build temples which are made of gold or idols or with all sorts of pomp and glory. Zoroastrian temples are very, very simple, and there's no ostentatiousness in the temples, because all the wealth is invested in education, in health, and in betterment of the community, in housing, special good housing for the community is the most important thing. And that is, you can see even in the diaspora over here,
This is the Pasagada where it was destroyed after the Greek invasion of Iran. And this is the type of architecture, which was the beautiful places, and you can still see this, some part of it still remaining, but was mostly in ruins.
This is the staircase, and you see over here that these are all the different the dresses of different people from different countries which they ruled. And they were bringing bounties to the king at the time of Nowruz, and they climbed. This is the famous stairways of the 1,000 steps. Horses as well as people climbed up to give the homage to the kings up there.
So this is, as I mentioned, the festivals, celebrations of Nowruz, which is the first day of spring, the Gambas, which are aligned with the season,
and Jashan-e-Sadeh, which is 50 days before Nowruz, January the 30th, and ecology is to be celebrated. celebrate nature, to be thankful for all its benefits. We owe to nature.
You can read this.
Yep.
That's it.
You know, your religion is, I also love that you said it is of the mind too. It is of the good mind. We all have a choice. And our choice needs to be doing the good and being the good. It is not saying you got to do this, you got to do that. You got to think for yourself. And I think that's why in our country, in America, the fundamentalists who have told people what to think or how to think, and all religions that have done that, we don't know how to be good thinkers in many ways. And so this is, you know, thousands of years old.
Yes.
Statement,
it's I don't think it'd be answered, but I wonder if people who practice this religion are active in climate change solutions.
Yes, yes, because most of them are now going into what do you call it? Electrical, no, solar heatings. They're changing the roofs to solar heating. They're buying cars which are hybrid, they're solar powered cars or electric cars. So gradually, it's really changing. It's even in the olden times, the wells and things, they were conserving the water from the rain into special canals and reusing this water
For other things. So all sorts of things were being used from ancient times. It's something nothing new. The canals were so ancient that Darius, who is one of the older the Achaemenian kings, had built the canal joining the Red Sea to the Nile. So the boats could go through. Yeah. So things were, and the postal system, the postal system which we have now was started in the Achaemenian times with the horsebacks going from one city to the other. And on the postal building in New York, there's a saying up there saying, in rain or snow or whatever it's called, the postal system goes on. And that's a saying from the Achaemenian times.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, Sharon.
Dolly, I wanted to ask you and all if you're familiar of an Indian feminist director, film director, who did 3 movies called Earth, another one called Fire, and another one called Water.
Yeah.
The one on Earth, I could never watch again. It was so intense, but it was about the change of creating the separation of India and Pakistan.
Yeah.
And all the massacres and everything that was going to occur. And much of it took place in the home of a Farsi, a Zoroastrian. And you saw the connections prior to that, between the Muslims, the Hindus, and I forget what the other tradition was, all in this house of the Zoroastrian. And then you saw what happened. It was so intense, but the Farsis never joined in the violence and the
author of that lady, author of that, Babsi Sidwa, she lives in Houston. She's pretty old now.
Yeah, they don't like her real well in India because she's covered, forcing young children. The one on Water is about forcing young children into marriages. I mean, it's pretty, she goes for the heart of it.
Yeah. She's very good.
You know, another thing that, and I want to repeat this, so because I don't know if I heard you correctly, but atonement and mercy is not a part of your religion. And I heard this in the ancient Celtic religion. It wasn't atonement because you're always in tune to nature and you have a choice of how you're going to be. So it is celebration, it is ceremonies, and it is a way of life of choosing the good and a way of life instead of going like mea culpa, which we do.
Because we have free will and free choice.
Right.
You choose, you're free to choose whatever you want.
Right. Right.
But whatever you choose, the consequences are yours. Then you can't say, oh, I'm so sorry, I chose the wrong thing. You can't do that. You have to bear the consequences. Go with the tide.
Be an adult is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the power of choice in children. We started at an early age with ignoring that power.
In our religion, there's no really do's and don'ts.
Don't eat this or don't you do
Right,
that or don't
right.
wear this or don't wear that, Do whatever you want to do, but bear your consequences, good or bad.
No, I think what basically Dolly says, and what what kind of I've as also a practicing Zoroastrian, I think what is important to me is that the whole the religion, the way it is put out, is more a philosophy to lead a good life, right? And the idea is that do whatever you have to do, but make sure that your actions do not harm others and do not harm yourself. And therefore, there are very, very few restrictions that you see in other Eastern or Western religions. There are very few do nots. For example, Zoroastrian priests lead absolutely normal lives, right? They marry, they have children, there is no, it's not that they renounce their normal life, that the way that in some other faiths it happens. Zoroastrianism clearly says go out and make money, but make money the ethical way. And then when you make money, make sure you give it back to society. And therefore, if you take the Indian subcontinent, where we are a minuscule number of people historically, right? But we're one of the biggest philanthropic communities, and 99% of our philanthropy goes to people outside of our faith and our community. It's for the general good. So whether it's the Tatas who built Asia's first cancer hospital, or to Shamshiji Gigi Boy, who's done philanthropy all over the world, including in Hong Kong and in other places. So I think that comes from a deep understanding within the faith that do the right thing. And sometimes as you study more, what I found is that sometimes it's necessary. What the right thing for you may not be really the right thing. So you do the right thing for the world, right? For you treat people fairly, and leading a good Zarathustri life or a Zoroastrian life does not necessarily mean that you take yourself away from worldly pleasures, you take yourself away from your family, your friends, your society. You thrive within all of that. And therefore you see that our celebrations kind of bring all of those things together, including every celebration has a very big component of nature within them. So for example, when we have this thing for our dead, that on the last 10 days of the year, we have this period called the Muktad, where we celebrate our dear departed who've passed away. So the general, I won't get into the details, but basically what we believe in is on those last 10 days of the year, our dear departed, the Fravashis as we call them, or the angels, come down to earth to be within us. So we have 10 days of ceremony every day in the morning, afternoon, and evening. And within those religious ceremonies, we have, the biggest component is flowers, because that dear departed person is represented by a vase of flowers, and you change the flowers every day. You put offerings of food to them, literally as if they were coming and having breakfast, lunch, and dinner with us. So there are 3 sets of prayers, that happen in the morning, in the afternoon, and the evening. And once you put this prayer, you put this food offering out there, and then the family shares it, right? So you kind of get a sense of feeling that your dear departed are with you those 10 days. And on the last day before the new year, you kind of actually have a ceremony to say a depart, say bye bye to them till next year. And we kind of continue to do that. So there is this whole sense of even within death and even within the passing away of somebody, there is always the idea that they are within us, and then they come back to visit us every year. So I think in that sense, I kind of find myself fortunate. Of course, it also brings a lot of responsibility when your religion and faith does not tell you not to do something, right? Because then you could always uh, twist that and say, oh, well, it doesn't tell me not to do this, and therefore I can do this, that, and the other. But then you go back to the very basic premise that, you do it with the right mind and the right thought. So, yeah, I think that's a little bit of what I feel, to kind of add to what Dolly said.
How is this religion stayed so small? It feels so right in so many ways.
Because it was destroyed. The people were killed. There were many, many. That's what I heard. Yeah.
So there were, when Islam came about, in what was Persia then, there was Zoroastrianism was the dominant state religion at that time, and it was the Sasanian Empire, and there were millions of Zoroastrians at that point. But as with the advent of Islam and the wars that happened, over religion in the 6th century AD, about around that time, 6th and 7th century AD, there was a massacre, and one side lost, and the Zoroastrian kings were overthrown. Islam became the dominant religion of the area as was known then as Persia, and that we know today as parts of Iran, Iraq, all of that, Syria,
Yeah.
all of that. So in that decimation, basically there are all sorts of numbers, but the one number that kind of stands the test of Western scholars is that about 50 million Zoroastrians were massacred over a 200-year period, and very few remained. And those few that remained, some of people, all Zoroastrians went all over the world, and some went into the Caucasus, some went into further into Egypt and stuff like that, and a very small group went to the Indian subcontinent. The ones that went to the Indian subcontinent were the only ones that could somehow continue practicing their religion. The others, all traces of them are lost. So, so the ones that went into the Indian subcontinent encountered Hindu India, and there was a lot of similarities between Hinduism and between Persian, including the languages, the religious texts. The Rig Veda in Hinduism and the Avesta in Zoroastrianism are from about the same vintage of like about 3 millennia ago, and therefore when the Zoroastrians landed in Hindu India, they were given refuge, and then they, over the last 14 centuries, they continued to thrive. But the population within the Indian subcontinent, I think at its maximum at one point was about 125,000. Today within India and Pakistan, it's about 50,000, and then there's a huge growth in North America. So we saw a huge diaspora move into the North America in the 50s, 60s, 70s, mostly to kind of get a better life, study, professionals, all of that kind of stuff. And I think the numbers have just remained the way they are. Mahatma Gandhi had this very, very famous quote where he calls Parsis in numbers beyond contempt, but in contribution beyond compare. So, I think it's one of those cases where numbers don't necessarily matter. It's what we do, it's what the impact of those numbers is that's more relevant. So, yeah, I mean, we do have the struggle that, we are so few and so small, and why not, but it is what it is. Yeah.
Which is why we wanted to have not only Dolly for who she is as a fantastic leader, friend, colleague, but to be able to illuminate the religion that has very little voice. And I just want to call on Lo, and I know we have very little time left, but Lo, because you do interfaith work, can you talk a little bit about how that's illuminated in interfaith work?
I think the thing that's so interesting about Zoroastrians is that, as you've said, Dolly, they do it. They don't talk about it. And I think that that's, we do a lot of talking. And I also think that different religions have a vested interest in pushing something. And Zoroastrianism, in some ways is so pure. I'm thinking about when we were making the film Anima, and we were in the Zoroastrian temple, and the day we got there, someone had knocked down a wall. And when the congregation came back to do a service later in the evening, we were running late, so they couldn't get into their temple. They couldn't get their food prepared. The wall was knocked down. They thought we had done it. And they were so gracious to us. They invited us. We didn't know till later that they thought we had knocked down the wall. They were gracious. They were kind. They fed us. There was nothing but goodness there. And it was such a remarkable experience of being with people who are doing good. There was not an evil thought. It was stunning.
Yeah.
And we find that with the Zoroastrians, they're joy to work with, and they don't self-promote. We're often promoting you because you're not busy promoting yourselves. I think it's very hard today with all of the noise just to do good and not brag about it, not have a sign, just do it. I know that I was personally shocked when I discovered the big shipping magnate in the Far East is a Zoroastrian who is funding all kinds of things. And it's like, why have I never heard about you? And it's like, well, it wasn't about talking about us, it was about doing the work. And it's a stunning lesson and goal for all of the rest of us, I think.
Even the vaccines which are produced in India and distributed all over the world free for people, low-income countries, is produced by a Zoroastrian company. Adar Poonawalla is a Zoroastrian.
But you don't tell people that. They don't know that.
Yeah, they don't.
You just do it. And so it's up to all the rest of us to say, hey, these guys did it. Did you know that? That's part of what they do. That's what that looks like. So
that's what we can do. And we'll make this recording into a YouTube video. That like we do, and then you'll all get it. It'll be on our website, but you all can get it, and you can begin to be messengers of Zoroastrian goodness.
Thank you.
How does that sound?
Good.
Dolly. Yeah, a couple more, and then we need to close. But go
Dolly,
ahead,
could you say a little bit more about the relevance of Asha?
Asha is righteousness, and as I said, it's fundamental to goodness. Asha is righteousness, devotion, whatever you want to call it. Everything good is embodied in that word Asha, and Asha controls the world, the creation. There has to be a good path. To me, that's Asha. Asha is righteousness. Always live with the principle of goodness.
And maybe we can close on that whole thought of doing good, goodness, being good, thinking good, acting good, thanking a wonderful religion that is being illuminated. And Dolly, who's so wonderful for us in the Green Tent and continues to do that in the Parliament. And all kinds of just applause. So thank you. We bow deeply to you for.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Well, but also I wanted to say for Dolly, whenever there is about women's rights, talk to Dolly. She knows it. She speaks out. She speaks for it. She's very, very knowledgeable. And as being a part of the Women's Task Force that Pat is, we always appreciate Dolly's voice and her force behind it, that force of goodness. So remember that on the Green Tent Circle, we're here every Saturday, and you're welcome to join us as we share information, our stories, our pains, and our joy. And every third Saturday, we have an Illuminator, and that will be announced soon for the one in May. But do enjoy Earth Day. As we say, Earth Day should be every day. But it did start in 1970 with millions celebrating, and it's gotten around the world, and we need to really honor and respect and love Mother Nature. So thank you both for bringing your religion, the history, and everything that, not everything, but a beginning for us to have a grasp of what this religion has to offer the world.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us the chance and opportunity to speak about it.